What's up YouTube, it's your boy Turkey Chen. Today I'm going to go over some real versus some fake Louis Vuitton items. Give out some general tips you can look out for. So stay tuned, let's get right into it. Alright, let's start off with the box. On the right I have a real genuine Louis box. And on the left I have a fake dupe Louis box. Let's go over the lettering first. On the fake, you can see that the letters are raised. On the real one, the letters are also raised too. Now the fake one does have a thicker raise versus the authentic one. As you can see, the authentic one, when you run your fingers over it, you do feel the bumps, but they're very, very subtle. Whereas the fake, when you run your fingers over it, it's very noticeable that there's a bump there. So the real one should have a subtle raise, whereas the fake ones have a more obvious raise. But in terms of spelling, they got it spot on. These two are different size boxes, so I'm not going to talk about the font size, since the font will vary based on your box size. The next thing I noticed is that on the real genuine Louis box, you see the surface of the box, it has this very subtle texture on it. It's like a hashtag all over it. Very subtle texture, looks like fine fabric. Whereas on the fake box, it's not as noticeable. It's there, but it's very faint. And again, when you run your finger over it, it's almost smooth. Whereas on the genuine box, when you run your fingers over it, you could feel the small ridges in the box. That's another tell. Next is the color. Color is pretty much night and day when you look at it on the camera. The real one is a more pale orange, whereas the fake one is a darker burnt orange. It's really noticeable side to side, but when you look at it on its own, it's very hard to tell. But side to side is the easiest tell. The fake one is darker, real one is more pale, more washed out. Next, let's talk about the tab on the box. On the genuine box, you have a nice textured braided tab that sticks out fairly easy. Got some bend to it, but it returns to its original shape. On the fake, you do get a textured one, but you see there's loose stitching, it's messy, and it does stick out, but when you bend it, it doesn't move much. It just flops around. Whereas the genuine, if you bend it, it snaps back into place. Whereas the fake one, very flimsy. All right, let's take a look at this punch out. You see how it's very forcefully done. You can see that someone really punctured this hole for this tab to be placed there. Now if you look at the genuine, it's very clean cut. Look at that clean cutout for this pull tab versus this cutout. That's quite noticeable. Let's look at the underside. Same thing, clean cutout on the real one, whereas the fake one, there's no space there. All right, real one has some space and clean cut, whereas the bottom one, the fake one, is just punched in. All right, next thing, real one, when you pull it, it slides out effortlessly. Look at that. I'm barely using any force. Very frictionless. Whereas the fake one, I have to use a lot of force. Can you hear that noise? A lot of friction there, not smooth at all. Real one, butter. Okay, let's look at the inner box color. Again, the real one is more pale, whereas the fake one is darker. That is night and day. Wow. Nothing on the underside. The real Louis box, very sturdy. The fake one, also very sturdy, but there is some give here, as you can see, whereas my real one, there is no give in the box. This fake one compresses easier. This real one is a lot more rigid. All right, let's dive into the inner box. See if we notice anything. Let me take out these fake products first. Again, check out that color difference between the real and the fake. Fake is on the top, real is on the bottom. Look at that color difference. All right, let's move on to the ribbons. Here I have a real ribbon. All right, take a look at the text. Take a look at that texture. Okay, now let's bring in the fake one. All right, so this is the fake one. Not too shabby, I would say. Spacing is a bit off between the two T's. Now let's do them side by side. All right, real is on the bottom, fake is on the top. As you can see, the fake one has a lot more shine to it, or the real one is more matte. The spacing on the real one is more even, whereas the spacing on the fake one is a bit off here and there. The real one has a raised texture, whereas the fake one is pretty much flat, and there's a vast color difference. And the overall material is the real one has a lot of slack in it, whereas the fake one feels plasticky, synthetic. Right? Alright, so that's a pretty easy tell for the ribbons. The fake one is just really shiny, letters are all over the place. Alright, let's move on to the baggies. So here I have a genuine Louis Vuitton baggie, and here's the fake Louis Vuitton baggie. Again, look at that stark color difference. The fake one is a lot more yellow, whereas the genuine one looks more of a cream color. Let's take a look at the leathering. Not bad. Nice even spacing. Here's the real one. Here's the side by side. This one, aside from the color, the text on the fake one looks a bit more spaced out versus the real one. The real one has a bit more tighter spacing. Again, that could be because of the bag size difference. But yeah, this is a pretty decent bag. I mean, it feels good in hand. These drawstrings are pretty well done. Yeah, this is a pretty nice fake dust bag. Alright, not bad. I gotta give it to the dude. Alright, now let's look at the products itself. Now for this comparison, they're two different products, but they're both leather products and they're both men's products. So although they're not exact identical products, you could still tell that both of them have the canvas leather or the canvas outer and a leather inner. So it's still a fair comparison. So this is the genuine one. Pocket card holder. Made in Spain, I believe. Yeah. So this is the fake one. This one is made in France. Alright, so first thing I would always do is do the smell test. The real one smells like fresh cut leather from a boot, whereas the fake one smells like dirt, smells like rain, smells like rocks. Right? It doesn't smell like leather. You could always go to a Louis store and double check the smell of the leather, but that's a quick test I like to do. Next thing, let's just look at the sheen, the pattern of the leather. As you can see, the real one has a nice pebbling to it, whereas the fake one also has the pebbling. And the shine is very similar between the two. So that's pretty tricky with the fake ones. They have the nice waxed and also the nice pebbling of the leather, and it's really hard to tell touching these two surfaces. This one feels pretty genuine. But if you inspect closer, let's look at the stitching. Stitching is pretty spot on, pretty similar. You know, no loose threads. Now what I did notice is if you run your hands over the stitching, you'll feel little pricks here and there, because the stitching isn't cleaned off, isn't burnt off well. Because it's a dupe, they're really quickly produced. So if you run your fingers over it, you'll feel a couple pricks here and there. And that's a good sign that it's not genuine. Whereas the real one, I run my hands over the stitching. Pretty smooth, no pricks whatsoever. No obvious pricks. Right, everything's really smooth on the outside. Fake one, I feel a couple pricks at the bottom here. You see that stitching popping out. So yeah, so always look at the stitching. Next thing you can do is look at the counts of the checkers. You can pull up an authentic one, count the checkers, see if that matches up. But for this one, I can't really tell because they're two different wallets. Next, the interior. Now the interior of these wallets is made out of leather material. So here's the interior of mine. Let's look at the text first. So this is a very legible Louis Vuitton Paris made in Spain, whereas on the fake, it's still legible to a degree, but that red stamp is a dead giveaway. And you see how this doesn't come up easily on the camera? That's another big tell. You can see that these two pieces of text are night and day. One's really readable, and the other is just kind of hard to make out. And that copyright is also very poorly done on the fake. So big tell is that stamp. You want to look for readability, spacing, and font size. Fake one has really big font, everything's blown out and ineligible. Alright, let's take a look at the inner texture of the leather. So on the real one, leather's very stretchy, very malleable, soft. These pockets, they open. When you break them in, they're a lot softer, bendable. Whereas on the fake, it feels like cardboard. You hear that? You hear that crinkling? That's not supposed to happen. This is it. Oh, there it goes. Oops. Okay. Well, there you go. This is plastic material. It doesn't have a lot of stretch, not a lot of bend to it. And there you go. During this live demonstration, it just popped off. Look at the interior. This one feels pretty well made. Feels like genuine canvas. But other gives are these interior linings. Look at that. That is legit paper, wax paper. None of that in here, and it's genuine one. Another big sign is the materials used are quite flimsy, and they break apart. Alright, let's take a look at this piece of hardware. Oh yeah, that's already breaking apart. That's not supposed to happen. So yeah, these fake ones, when you have them in hand, it's really easy to tell. It's stiff, it's rigid, it feels plasticky, the materials just feel off, and the smell, very noticeable. On the outside, this looks pretty legit to me. I could take this out to the club and fool a lot of people. But when you actually put your hand on it, you can start to tell, oh, this ain't right. Or the real one, more supple, more flexible, cleaner design. But yeah, that's all I really have in this comparison. You can really tell a lot from the boxes and from the bags. And when you get the pictures of the item, you can tell based off, you know, the amount of checkers on them and whatnot. But always good to get these in hand if you're going to purchase them online. Or just get them from a verified seller. And then check the boxes and the bags. That's all I have, guys. Ciao.